सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। जन्तूनां नरजन्म दुर्लभम् अतः पुंस्त्वं ततो विप्रता तस्मात् वैदिकधर्ममार्गपरता विद्वत्त्वमस्मात् परम्। आत्म अनात्म विवेचनं स्वनुभवः ब्रह्मात्मना संस्थितिः मुक्तिर्नो शतजन्मकोटिसुकृतैः पुण्यैः विना लभ्यते. So the second verse of Vivekachoodamani gives the entire spiritual journey and also the topics that are covered in this text. So far we have reached up to Svanubhavaha. That was the last topic which we took, how to experience what we have understood. Su Anubhavaha, direct experience. Sometimes it will be called as aparokshanubhuti. Aparoksha, direct, anubhuti, experience. So we saw in the last section the practice of meditation, the effortful practice of meditation, and how it leads to effortless awareness of one's true nature. Now, this nididhyasana practice of meditation, when we are at this stage, we get glimpse of that Supreme Self. We have done Shravana, understood by doing Manana, and now we are in the process of experiencing. Now sometimes while meditating or during the practice of meditation, we get glimpses of that Supreme State. But you see, those glimpses are not sufficient. We have to actually become one, become firm, become established in that experience. Example, when we are going for trekking, far some fort is there. When we are reaching there, just when we are close, we start to see the peak. We start seeing the peak. Okay. Now, as we start seeing the peak which is very close, you are having a beautiful view around you also. But still you have not reached. You are getting glimpses, then again you will enter into some forest area, then again you can't see the peak. After some time again you are out, again you will be able to see the peak. But to experience it, you have to still go further. Isn't it? Now, though I have got the glimpses of the Supreme State, I need to become established in that state. So even after svanubhavaha, there comes a step, brahmatmana samsthitihi. See the word also. Samsthitihi means firm abidance, firm establishment, where Brahma Atmana, in the knowledge that I am Brahman. This Brahmakara vritti, which we have maintained or which we have tried to maintain in the practice of meditation, gives us glimpses of that state. But to be established in that state, we have to do something else also. Again, actually, we have to understand it like this. Ideally, the knowledge I am Brahman, the moment we hear it, we should get established in that knowledge. Ideally. Okay? But it does not happen. We saw there are 3 obstacles that we saw: abhavana, asambhavana, viparita bhavana. Correct? Now these 3 we are trying to remove by shravana, manana, nidhyasana. Now even while doing this, even while trying to remove all these obstacles, there is another big obstacle. Unless that obstacle is removed, all other experiences, establishing in the experience will not happen. What is that obstacle? That is explained now. Let us read the verse, then we will understand. Verse number 267. Jñāte vastunyapi balavatī vāsanānādireṣā kartā bhoktāpyahamiti dṛḍhā yāsya saṃsārahetuḥ pratyagdṛṣṭyātmani nivasatā sāpaneyā prayatnāt muktiṃ prāhustadiha munayo vāsanātānavaṃ yat jñāte vastunyapi balavatī vāsanānādireṣā kartā bhoktāpyahamiti dṛḍhā yāsya saṃsārahetuḥ pratyagdṛṣṭyātmani nivasatā sāpaneyā prayatnāt muktiṃ prāhustadiha munayo vāsanātānavaṃ yat. What does Shankaracharya say now? Shankaracharya says, jñāte vastuni api. Sati Saptami Prayoga once again. Vastuni jñāte. When that vastu, that supreme reality, jñāte, is realized, api, even then, balavatī vāsana anādihi eṣā. Eṣā anādihi vāsana balavatī. Though you have realized the reality, you have got the glimpse, eṣā vāsana, this vāsana, anādihi, which is beginningless, balavatī, is extremely strong. What kind of vāsana? Kartā bhokta api ahaṃ iti dṛḍhā. There is this dṛḍhā, strong vāsana that I am karta, I am the doer, I am bhokta, I am the enjoyer. So even when you are practicing meditation, you will say, I am practicing meditation. When you get the glimpse of the Supreme, I got the glimpse of the Supreme. See? I am enjoying that state of meditation. You see, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. This has not yet gone. And therefore it is dṛḍhā. Ya, which is asya samsārasya hetuḥ. which is the cause of this samsara. So what happens, even when we get the glimpse of the Supreme, this vasana obstructs. pratyagdṛṣṭyātmani nivasatā sāpaneyā. Now the solution is given. Problem is told in the first line, that even after realizing the Supreme State, even after getting the glimpse, this vasana which is strong does not allow me to remain in that experience. We come out. You see, meditation we are practicing, practice of meditation we are doing, but only when we are sitting for meditation we feel I am Brahman. The moment we get up from meditation, then what happens? See, the vasana catches us again. Then what? pratyagdṛṣṭyātmani, nivasatā, abiding in one's own inner self, with pratyagdṛṣṭya, with inner vision, abiding in that self, sāpaneyā, she should be removed. She, vasana. Vasana, apaneyā, should be removed. How? Prayatnān, by putting efforts. Don't think that it will go on its own. It is very strong. Balavatī, dṛḍhā is said. Therefore, prayatnān apaneyā. That vasana should be removed with efforts. Muktiṃ prāhustadiha munayo. Iha, here, this, this state, munayo muktiṃ prāhuhu, is called as liberation. By munis, by the wise people, by the reflective sages. What is that state? Vāsanātānavaṃ yat. That which is vāsanātānava. Tānava means destruction, annihilation, total end. Vāsanātānavaṃ, the total destruction of all vasanas, that is called as mukti, and not this glimpse. You see, what is said here? See, sometimes we take the same example of, suppose we are going for trekking. There are some people who will be there with us in the group. They are not able to walk up to the end. And they keep asking, how much more? How much more? How much more? Even when we are going somewhere for trip also, there will be some people will keep asking, no? What time will reach? What time? What time? So to all such people, those who have handled such people, they know, we always are, just now, we'll just you see that they're there only. Now by the time you reach there, you tell them the next goal. You see there, now there only. So far, it was told that you do shravana, manana, nididhyasana, that is it, mukti. After self-knowledge, what comes? Mukti. But that self-knowledge which gives that liberation, mukti, has to be unobstructed, isn't it? Now slowly Shankaracharya also is explaining to us, okay, you did shravana, you did manana, you did nididhyasana also quite well, but are you abiding in that state? Abiding in that state means what? Never coming out. Never coming out of that state. Should always remain in that state. Have you done that? If not, then you have not yet reached. And how will you, why have you not yet abided in the Supreme? Because vasana is there. That vasana is stopping you. Different vasanas which are there, they are stopping you from abidance. So total destruction of these vasanas is what is called as mukti. Okay? Let me explain it other way around also. We had seen earlier the simple concept that in Vedanta we speak is Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. Remember, Jivan Mukti is what? Experiencing that state of liberation, Jivan Neva, while living. So, a person becomes jnani by this aparoksha anubhava and remains here as that Brahman. Now, when such a jnani, his body etc. will continue according to prarabdha. When he will drop the body, that is called as Videha Mukti. Remember? We had seen this. For the jnani, there is no difference between jivan mukti, videha mukti. From ajnani standpoint, we create that distinction, right? Now, in other texts, like in jivan mukti, viveka, etc., Swami Vidyaranya explains this little differently. That also we had seen at one place, I remember, where he explains that videha mukti is before, jivan mukti comes later. How does he explain videha mukti? Videha means vigata deha, where body is not there. Now, in our general understanding of Vedanta, we say videha means when this body of jnani falls. A body is gone, videha. Vidyaranya Swami explains it little differently. He says, videha mukti means possibility of next body is gone. Next body is not there. That is called videha mukti. So, there he explains that one who has done that Shravana Manana Nidhyasana even has got a glimpse of that Supreme, his prarabdha will continue, but sanchita and agami are destroyed, and therefore he will not be reborn. We say no, that jnani will not be reborn. In the previous section also we saw, one who does this is not born again. You see, tadatmana yotra vased guhayam punarnatasyanga guha pravesha, previous verse itself, is not born again. So the possibility of next body is not there. That is called as videha mukti in that particular text by Swami Vidyaranya. But he says, though he has got videha mukti, means he is not going to get body in the next birth, here in this birth, he is not yet experiencing that supreme bliss all the time. Why? Because abidance has not happened. So there he says that there are two things which need to happen. What are the two things that need to happen? Manonasha and vasanakshaya. Manonasha, complete destruction of mind. Vasanakshaya, total annihilation of all vasanas. Unless and until this happens, the person will not experience jivan mukti. He is mukta. He is mukta from the cycle of samsara, correct? Why? Because there is no next birth. He is come out of that cycle. But jivan mukti, that state one has to experience in this life, that will not be experienced unless manonasha and vasanakshaya happens. Are you getting the point? So, what explanation follows now from this verse onwards is for a mukta who has got freed from the cycle, who is not going to get next birth, for that person to experience that bliss here now, the steps are given now. The method is given now. The obstacle is given now and the solution is also given. Are you getting this? So now from this verse 267 till 425, these many verses, around 150, 160 verses, are going to explain to us how to get rid of these vasanas, how to get the mind totally under control, so that we will be able to reach the supreme state here. Now, somebody may say, Veji, we will cross the bridge when we get there. Why to understand from now what is to be done at that time? Shravana not over properly, Manana not over, Nididhyasana is not over, how will we reach? You see, the beauty of Shastra, Vedanta Shastra is such that every verse is applicable or helpful to us at all stages. See, even to do Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana properly, we have to reduce our vasanas. Even to gain that Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Ekagrata, we have to reduce our vasanas. So, the verses that follow are not only applicable for those advanced seekers or muktas, but actually they are for all of us. Very, very, very helpful, very practical. these verses are, right? So we have to immediately start following it. Not wait for, okay, I will do for Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasana and then I will. No, we have to do that now onwards. So here what does he say in this particular verse? He says, even when that supreme state one has got glimpse of, but the vasana is strong and therefore one is not abiding in that experience. This kartā, ahaṃ, bhoktāpyahamiti, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, these kind of strong thoughts, feelings are there. And therefore, as long as you don't destroy these vasanas totally, how? By seeing the self within you and by abiding in it, you will not reach the state of mukti. So he says, munayo, great sages call this state of absence of all vasanas as mukti. Why? Because there you are experiencing jivan mukti here itself. That's why it is called as mukti. Is this point understood? Now, what is this vasana? This vasana word we have seen earlier. See, there is no English equivalent word for vasana. One English word is not there. It's a combination of many concepts. Let us understand. One meaning of vasana is fragrance. Vasa, fragrance. Another meaning of vasana is impressions, residual impressions. You remember we had seen that explanation that when we are performing any particular action, that action is over, the incidence is over, experience is over, but the impression of that experience remains. Correct? And that impression guides our future actions. Guides, okay? It doesn't always decide, but it guides. So all the time what are we doing? We are changing our vasanas at all times. Every week you come here and attend class. Come here means online, wherever you are. You sit there and attend class. Every week you are changing your vasana. Every single time you take any book and you read, you are changing your vasana. Every time you sleep, you are changing your vasana. Every time you are watching something, you are doing something, you are talking, you are walking, you are saying, whatever you do, at every single moment we are changing our vasanas. But the problem is, we are only changing them. We are not decreasing them, reducing them. Means what? As Shankaracharya says in Bhaja Govindam also, balastavat kridasakta, tarunastavat taruni-sakta, vriddhastavat chinta-sakta, parame brahmani kopinasakta. At different stages of our life, we are attached to different things because of our vasanas. So we change what we are attached to. In the childhood, we are attached to the toys. When we become young, we are attached to friends. When we become little more elderly, we are attached to money and comfort. When we grow old, we are attached to all our memories, etc., worries. But throughout, we are not attached to that Supreme. So earlier I had, so these impressions are called as vasana. Sometimes the vasana is also called as samskaras. See, now just because the topic has come, see the word samskara and vasana literally means same. But somehow in our usage what has happened is, we feel samskaras are good and vasanas are bad. Isn't it? Okay, this is only for usage, okay? But please understand, there is shubha vasana, ashubha vasana. There is good vasana, bad vasana. Shubha samskara, ashubha samskara. Both are there. They are basically impressions. See, now we are studying Vedanta, we are creating shubha vasana. That I want to study spirituality, I want to practice, I want to do Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasana. What are we doing? We are adding on to shubha vasanas. Now, between shubha vasanas and ashubha vasanas are better. But not to have even those vasanas is even better. You understand? So every single time when we are shifting or changing, we are sometimes strengthening some vasana, creating new vasana, totally deleting some vasana, editing the vasana, adding on to it, reducing it. All the time this is what we are doing. So this vasana you can understand as fragrance, kind of impression, residual impression. Vasana in general terms also is referred to as desires, because that is how the vasana expresses. See, though in Vivekachoodamani vasana was included in the subtle body, we have understood that vasana as something which cannot be understood by us. You at this moment cannot see the vasanas. Nobody can see the vasanas. Why? Because they are actually at the extremely subtle or causal level actually. So mind doesn't know what all vasanas we have. How can we know what vasanas we have? Only when those vasanas express. So the vasanas express as raga, dvesha, kama, etc. So sometimes the word vasana is also referred to as desires, to indicate our desires, strong desires you can say. Not just any simple kind of desire, but strong desire is also referred to as vasana. So now for next, starting from this verse, 10 verses, 267 to 276, he is discussing about this vasana and how to reduce or destroy the vasana. That is the topic which is being taken now. In this verse, what did he say? He said that even after getting the glimpse of that Supreme, one is not able to abide because of vasanas are strong. Now, again here you have to understand one more thing. It says for abidance in that Supreme state, vasanas have to be removed totally. And they will also say to remove vasanas, abide in the Supreme state. So for A, B is required, for B, A is required. Then it becomes a problem. Why? Because you don't have A and therefore you will not get B. Because you don't have B, you will not get A. I will not get anything. No. What it means is you keep trying for both. Keep abiding in the self, keep removing the vasanas. At one point of time, both will meet. You will abide and vasanas will be destroyed. Or vasanas will be destroyed and you will abide. Whichever way you want to see. Example. See, suppose I want to become great musician. Okay. And the instruction is given, practice hard to become great musician. Become great musician so that you don't have to practice hard. Both sentences are correct or not? Both sentences are. So I keep practicing, and at the same time I keep becoming great musician. Then what happens? Then both these things meet at some point of time. So to reduce vasanas, you have to keep abiding in the self. To abide in the self, you have to keep reducing vasanas. Both have to be done simultaneously. Okay. Now he explains. What is this? Let us see. Verse number 268. Ahaṃ mameti yo bhāvah dehākṣādāvanātmani adhyāso'yaṃ nirastavyo viduṣā svātmaniṣṭhayā ahaṃ mameti yo bhāvah dehākṣādāvanātmani adhyāso'yaṃ nirastavyo viduṣā svātmaniṣṭhayā. Now he is taking that concept of kartā, bhoktāpyahamiti. That is what is called as vasana, he said, isn't it? As long as that doesn't go, vasanas are not gone. Now he says, ahaṃ mama iti yah bhāvah. this notion, bhava, of I, ahaṃ, and mama, mine. This notion of I and mine, where deha, aksha, adau. Deha, body, aksha, I means senses. Adau, in the body, eyes, etc. Means what? In the body, senses, mind, intellect, etc. Anātmani, in the not self, this notion of I and my, which I have got, ayam adhyāsaha. This is superimposition. Isn't it? This we have seen earlier. Anātmani atma bhavaha bandha adhyasa. Anātmani atma buddhi. Isn't it? So, in the not self, in that which is not me, in the panchakosha, in the three shariras, I have a notion of this is me and this is mine. This is called as adhyasa, superimposition. Nirastavyo. That superimposition should be ended, should be removed, viduṣā, by the wise person. So, this adhyasa should be removed by the wise. How? Svātmaniṣṭhayā, by abiding in one's self. So, here he is explaining, you keep practicing abidance in that Supreme, slowly these vasanas etc. will start to reduce, start to vanish. Okay. Now, verses will be similar concepts, will be explained. Let us see what does he say in the next verse. Verse number 269. Jñātvā svaṃ pratyagdṛṣṭyātmani buddhi tadvritti sakshinam sohamityeva sadvrittya anātmanyātmamatim jahi. Jñātvā svaṃ pratyagdṛṣṭyātmanam buddhi tadvritti sakshinam sohamityeva sadvrittya anātmanyātmamatim jahi. See, when we chant the whole line together, there is no chandobhanga. Sohamityeva sadvrittya anātmanyātmamatim jahi. That akara, because of avagraha, is lupta when we chant the whole line together. Okay, because we are breaking, therefore it is little bit meter is getting shifted. Right. So what is said? Jñātvā svaṃ pratyagdṛṣṭyātmanam. Svaṃ, one's own. Pratyak, inner. Atmanam, self. Jñātvā, having realized one's own inner self. Buddhi tadvritti sakshinam, which is the witness of buddhi, intellect, tadvritti, and its modifications, its thoughts, its functions. Knowing or realizing this self, who is the witness consciousness for the mind, intellect, and its functions, its modifications, saha ahaṃ, that Atma is me. Iti eva sadvrittya, by this good thought, I am that Brahman, I am that Supreme, by this good thought, anātmani atmamatim jahi. Give up the notion of I in the not self. What is said here? BMI, body, mind, intellect, are not self. Right now I have feeling of I and my in this not self. I consider body, mind, intellect to be me, and I also consider them to be mine. Now what is said there? In this anatma, you give up the notion I. How? By realizing that you are not this BMI, you are the sakshi of BMI. You are the witness of this BMI. So again, these verses, what are these verses doing? They are helping us to abide in that self. To keep remembering that I am not this body, mind, intellect, I am the witness consciousness, who is witnessing Body, mind, intellect, their functions, their activities, their modifications, everything without changing, without any intermediate equipment. I am just that witness. With this, you give up the notion of I in the not self. Right? So, this adhyasa you remove. That's the main point. Okay? For next 20-25 verses, this is the main point. Remove adhyasa. Remove adhyasa. That is what is explained in the next verse, which also explains types of vasanas. Let us see. Verse number 270. Lokanuvartanam tyaktva dehānuvartanam shastranuvartanam tyaktva svādhyāsapanayam kuru. Lokanuvartanam tyaktva dehānuvartanam shastranuvartanam tyaktva svādhyāsapanayam kuru. Swa adhyasa apanayam kuru. Kuru, do. What should I do? Apanaya, removal. Removal of what? Adhyasa, superimposition. Superimposition on what? Swa, on one's own self. This phrase svādhyāsapanayam kuru is going to come again many times. I think, if I am not wrong, from verse number 277 onwards for 10 verses, this phrase will remain same. Svādhyāsapanayam kuru, svādhyāsapanayam kuru. It will come again and again. That time also we will see. But how to remove this adhyasa? So the method is given now. Loka anuvartanam tyaktva. Anuvartanam means following, imitating, desiring, impersonating. What am I impersonating? What am I imitating? Loka. What is this loka? Loka can mean world, can also mean people. In our language also we use loka for both. Lok kya bolenge? We are talking about people. But Brahmalok, Devalok, Prithvilok, Patalalok, we are talking about loka, world. Right. Lokyate iti loka. Where the experience takes place or one who experiences, both are called as loka. Right. Now, the word will be anuvartana. You see, loka anuvartana, deha anuvartana, shastra anuvartana. These are the three kinds of vasanas. Basically, in the next verse, they will be called as loka vasana, deha vasana, shastra vasana. What is this? Let us understand. Loka vasana. Now, here we will understand vasanas as desires, but you understand it, we are talking about those impressions. Okay, little more subtle. But while using the word, we will use desire. Okay, so loka vasana means desire towards the world, this world or other worlds. Loka vasana, this world or other worlds. Deha vasana, desire towards body, mind, etc. You see, giving attention, over attention to the body, all the time beautifying it, and keep on grooming. Nowadays that is very important. Grooming, grooming, big industry now, right? So keep on decorating your body. That is one kind of vasana. Third is very interesting. Shastra vasana. What is this Shastra vasana? Shastra vasana is desire to study scriptures. Vechi? It is vasana? See, here it is taken in a negative sense. In the sense that there are people who want to keep studying and keep getting degrees over degrees over degrees and keep adding under their name in the house, their name will be written, Brahmachari Ved Chaitanya, what he has studied, MA, LLB, PhD, MPhil, PhD 2, etc., etc. See, and they like also. And suppose you are introducing them and you don't take certain padavi, as they say, no? If you don't mention, then they feel very insulted. How dare, I am a doctor, I am a PhD, you should mention it before my name. Shastra Vasana refers to the deep-rooted desire to study and study and study and not focusing on the experience. See, Shastra is means, not the goal. When we forget that it is the means and we put efforts to only reach that, Shastra, keep studying, Shastra, that is called as Shastra Vasana. See, desire to study Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita is a good thing. That is not mentioned, that is not specified here. Here it is like a obsessive, compulsive desire that I want to keep studying. That is called as Shastra Vasana here. Okay. So please note what do they actually mean. Okay. Attached to the study. That is what it means here. Now, he says tyaktva. You see their word tyaktva comes 3 times. Lokanuvartanam tyaktva, tyaktva dehānuvartanam, shastranuvartanam tyaktva, svādhyāsapanayam kuru. So you give up lokavasana, you give up dehavasana, you give up shastra vasana, and thus you remove the adhyāsa. Earlier, we had also seen concept of eshana. Remember? Putreshana, Vitteshana, Lokeshana. Eshana again means desire. Putreshana, desire of family, progeny, etc. Vitteshana, desire of money, comfort, etc. Lokeshana, desire for power, followers, etc. Now, those same things are explained here in a different way. That's it. The basic vasanas are same. In human being, the basic vasanas are same. One wants to have power, one wants to live all the time, and one wants to become wealthy and comfortable. These are the basic vasanas which are always there. Right? So, that is what is mentioned here through Lokavasana, Dehavasana and Shastra Vasana. Now, the question is, why should I give up these vasanas, Vedji? We can continue studying also and continue having vasanas. See, now how it is easier. See, you have class, you have kept class also, thanks to you, we have kept only Sunday evening, 5 to 6:15. So what? So 7 o'clock Sunday evening we can go out. Dinner time is no problem. We can still go and have dinner in a nice restaurant or different places, etc. See, I am doing this also, I am doing that also. What is the issue? Why you want me to give up that to do this? Shankaracharya explains why. Next verse number 271. Lokavasanaya jantoho shāstravasanaya pica dehavasanaya jñānam yathāvannaiva jñāte lokavasanaya jantoho shāstravasanaya pica dehavasanaya jñānam yathāvannaiva jñāte. Lokavasanaya, shāstravasanaya, dehavasanaya jantoho yathāvajñānam na eva jñāte. Lokavasanaya, due to desires towards the world. Shastravasanaya api, also due to desire towards study, scriptures, etc. Dehavasanaya cha, and also due to desires towards the body. Jantoho, for a person. Yathāvajñānam, True knowledge, knowledge yathavat, as it is, na eva jayate, is not born. What do you mean? You see, we are dealing with spiritual knowledge, not worldly knowledge. Worldly knowledge and vasanas can coexist. I know physics, but I am attached to my wife. Possible. I know chemistry, but I love money and I cannot live without money. Possible. I know mathematics, I am a great scholar of mathematics, but I want popularity. I am obsessed with popularity. That is fine. Why? Because they are not opposing each other. But spiritual knowledge cannot take place truly unless these vasanas are removed. Why? Because it is spiritual knowledge. You cannot have desire for the world, for the body, for the shastras, and also desire for the self. That is not possible. Either you will have this or you will have that. All vasanas are taking us out. Self-knowledge is taking us in. They cannot coexist. Also, having said that, please remember, whenever we have any vasana strong, even worldly knowledge either is not gained or it becomes, what we can say, in a wrong hand. Example, suppose when I am studying in university, trying to study, let us say physics I am studying, BSc, physics, science, BSc. If I have got very strong desire, all these kinds of desires, Loka Vasana, Shastra Vasana or Deha Vasana, very strong, I won't be able to focus on my studies. Isn't it? If I am all the time thinking about money, how to make money and how to save money and how to, I won't be able to study. Also, suppose I study and I become great scientist and I have vasana, desire for money. You see what will happen? For the sake of money, I will give my knowledge and use it in a wrong way. For the destruction of the world, I will use. Isn't it? That's what happens. See, all these terrorists, etc. also are very intelligent people. We have heard so many terrorists were engineers and all. But what happened? They used their knowledge for the destruction. Why? Because of vasana. Some vasana somewhere. So even worldly knowledge is not, what we say, uncorrupt or complete if these vasanas are there. Then what to talk about spiritual knowledge? For spiritual knowledge, these vasanas must be removed. There is absolutely no doubt about it. So as long as these vasanas are there, the knowledge as such will not happen. Right? Therefore, seekers must remove these vasanas. Now, this concept Shankaracharya ji explains in a few examples. Let us see. In each verse, one example is there. Let us see. Verse number 272. Samsārakāragrihamokṣamiච්ඡoh ayomayam pādanibandha shriṅkhalam. Shriṅkhalam is there or shriṅkhalam is there? Ayomayam pādanibandha shriṅkhalam. Vadanti tadnyāh patuvāsanātrayam. Yosmād vimuktah samupaiti muktiṃ. Samsārakāragrihamokṣamiච්ඡoh ayomayam pādanibandha shriṅkhalam. Vadanti tadnyāh patuvāsanātrayam. Yosmād vimuktas samupaiti muktiṃ. Pada nibandha shrinkalam, pada nibadha shrinkalam. Both differences are there. Nibadha, nibandha mean the same. Baddha, bound. Bandha, bondage, mean the same. Right. Now what is said here? Samsara karagraha moksham ichchoho. Ichchoho. For a person who is desirous of moksha, of freeing oneself from karagraha, from this prison, samsara, of samsara. One who wants to be free from prison, first he has to do something. What? Ayomayam pada nibandha shrinkalam. For such a person, ayomayam, made up of iron, pada nibandha shrinkalam, the chains that are shackling the feet, that are binding the feet. See, in the prison, no, those prisoners are bound by those chains, isn't it? Metal chains. Now, if I want to free myself from the prison, first I have to get myself freed from these chains. Then only we can come out of prison. What are these pada shrinkala? What are these iron chains which are, what that is compared with patu vasanatrayam. Patu means strong. Vasanatrayam, three kinds of vasanas which are explained previously. Loka vasana, deha vasana, shastra vasana. These three vasanas are like that shrinkala, are like those chains. And that karagraha, prison, is samsara. And we are the people who are in that samsara karagraha, in that prison of samsara, bound by these chains of vasanas. Vadanti tadnyaha, tadnyaha vadanti. The experts speak of these vasanas as those shackles. And therefore, yaha asmad vimuktaha, one who is freed from this, muktiṃ samupaiti, finally gets rid of samsara also, and samupaiti, attains mukti, liberation. So prison is compared with samsara. Prisoner is the jiva. And those shackles, those chains which are binding are vasanas. So you first get rid of these chains, then you come out of jail, and then you are free. First remove the vasanas, come out of samsara, then you are mukta. Okay? One example, beautiful example. Now, another example. What is this example? Let us see. Verse number 273. Jaladi samsargavashat prabhuta durgandhadhuta garudivyavasana sangharshanenaiva vibhati samyak vidhūyamane sati bahyagandhe jaladi samsargavashat prabhuta durgandhadhuta garudivyavasana sangharshanenaiva vibhati samyak vidhūyamane sati bahyagandhe. Jaladi samparka vashat, jaladi samsarga vashat. Patha bheda is there, meaning is same. Samparka means connection, samsarga also means contact, connection. Now, what is the example you see? Jaladi samsarga vashat prabhuta durgandha dhuta. Like that words are there. Prabhuta durgandha dhuta. How to explain? Dhuta, hidden. Durgandha, foul smell. Prabhuta, extreme. Covered with extreme foul smell. How that foul smell has come? Jaladi samsarga vashat. because of its contact with water, etc., such damp objects, because it came in contact with that, what has happened? It is covered with foul smell. What is it? Agaru divya vasana. Agaru, agaru means, you know that incense stick which we use, agarbatti. That agarbatti is made up of what? That is called as agaru, which is very fragrant, divya vasana. It's very fragrant and it is divine, it is called divine, isn't it? Now, when that agarbatti, incense stick, comes in contact with water, you must have seen that it is covered with a very foul smell. Actually, it is very fragrant, but because of its contact with water, that foul smell has covered the actual beautiful fragrance. Now what? Sangharshanena eva, by sangharshana rubbing, scrubbing, by sangharshana alone, by rubbing alone, samyak vibhati, it manifests well. How? Bahyagandhe vidhūyamane sati. When that bahyagandha, when that external foul smell, vidhūyamane, is removed. What is said? There is an incense stick which is very fragrant, but because of its contact with water, because of the dampness, because of the humidity, it generates certain what we can say, foul smelling organisms, and therefore it starts to smell bad. Now to remove this foul smell, they rub it, okay, and when it is rubbed, there is a kind of cloth is there. When they rub on that cloth, then these foul smelling organisms are removed. Then what? Samyak vibhati. Then it manifests as it was with that same fragrance and everything. What is the point? He says now that this is now example. Okay. Now next verse will tell the point. Darshtantika. Drishtanta is over. Now Darshtantika. What does it say? Let us read. Verse number 274. Antashritananta duranta vasana. Dhuli vilipta paramatma vasana. Pradnyāti sangharshanato vishuddha. Pratiyate chandana gandhavat sputam. Antashritananta duranta vasana. Dhuli vilipta paramatma vasana. Pradnyāti sangharshanato vishuddha. Pratiyate chandana gandhavat sputam. Now that incense stick, or rather fragrance of that incense stick, is paramatma vasana, is fragrance of the Supreme Self. So incense stick is compared with the Self, and fragrance of that incense stick is compared with that Supreme Self. Now that incense stick is now covered with that foul smell. What is that? Antashrita ananta duranta vasana dhuli vilipta. One word. Antashritananta duranta vasana dhuli vilipta. Vilipta, covered with dust. It is now covered with dust. What? That paramatma vasana. What? Dust of what? Antashrita, that which is staying inside. Ananta, infinite, many. Duranta, violent vasana. Means what? This paramatma vasana, this fragrance of the self, is covered by many other foul smelling desires ingrained in the mind, which are endless and violent. Antashrita, ingrained in the mind. Pradnyati sangharshanatah. And what is this sangharshana? You have to rub it off, isn't it? That foul smelling things have to be removed. What is this rubbing? Pradnyati. Pradnyati means knowledge. By the scrubbing of knowledge, vishuddha pratiyate, it is perceived pure. Chandana gandhavat. Another example he gives, like the beautiful fragrance of chandana sandalwood. Sputam, clear. What is the point? You see, I am essentially the Supreme Self. You are essentially the Supreme Self, which are absolutely pure and fragrant. Now, on this self, the vasanas of I-ness and my-ness are there, which are foul smelling. You see, some people are, bad people. Some people have got desires. Some people have got lust. Some people all the time are angry. Some people are all the time jealous. Now, because of that, what happens? What do we say? I don't want to go to that group. I don't want to meet these people. Means what? The fragrance is gone and the foul smell is coming. If everybody is self, then how is this foul smell coming? This foul smell is hiding the inner fragrance. All of us essentially are that fragrant self. But this fragrance of the self is covered with so many of our dirty vasanas. Now with knowledge, that is the sangharshana. With that knowledge, you start removing these foul smelling vasanas. And when you remove the foul smelling vasanas, vishuddha pratiyate, you will see that the self is pure. Very beautiful. Chandana gandhavat sputam. And it is very fragrant like sandalwood. Are you getting? So what is said here? Jiva is Brahman plus upadhis, isn't it? Those upadhis, desires for those gratification of those upadhis is what is creating foul smell. Otherwise, the self is so fragrant. Now you remove those vasanas which are creating foul smell, and that self which is inside, which is always fragrant, shines by itself. This adhyāso'yaṃ kuru. Remove these foul smelling vasanas. See how beautifully through examples he is explaining. Okay, so two examples we have seen. See now difference between the two examples also you see. In the first example of being freed from prison, and before that we have to free ourselves from chains, there is a prapti. I have to do something and gain something. Now here we see that what I need to gain is already with me, that fragrance, but it is covered with some bad thing and I just have to purify it. I don't have to purchase the incense stick. Incense stick is already there. It is covered with foul smelling organisms. You have to just clean it, rub it off. You understand how he is giving two examples and trying to make us understand that this removing of vasanas is not all the time gaining somewhere, gaining something which is far, just like freeing yourself from prison. It can be also that what you seek is already with you. The freedom that you seek might be already with you, but it is covered with so many things. Now you remove that and you will remain as that pure, fragrant self. Okay. Now, one more example he gives in the next, we will see in the next session. Okay. So next two verses he concludes this topic and then the next topic starts. We will see that in the next class. Right. See, remember in the beginning we had said Vivekachoodamani is a text of Shankaracharya where philosophy is married to poetry. See, you see in all these cases. What beautiful examples to explain philosophical points. greatness of Shankaracharya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.